Almost exactly 5 years ago, I made a video about air purification. In the blissful year of 2017, the worst thing I could imagine breathing in was wildfire smoke, because I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and every now and again, our state catches on fire. And that's how Baby got her very first N95 mask. The mask was for venturing out of doors, but the problem was so bad that smoke was leaching into my apartment, making it hard to breathe even inside with all of the windows shut. And that is how Baby got her first air purifier too. The Coway Air Mega AP1512HH True HEPA Air Purifier. At the time, the number one choice for Wirecutter and thousands of satisfied online shoppers. In my video, I described a bit of how it works. This is a machine that sucks air in and passes it through a high-efficiency particulate air filter, a HEPA filter. HEPA filters adhere to standards set by the government that determine how many particulates they can capture, from 85% up to 99.999995% of airborne particles. And then I shared something fun that I learned while researching purifiers. The one I got has a bonus feature called an ionizer. My purifier also has an ionizer, which is pretty cool in that there are metal coils that electrically charge molecules in the air, giving them a negative ionization. They float around and are attracted to pollutants in the air, attracting them like static electricity, and then dropping them onto the floor or sticking to a wall. This sounded pretty outlandish when I first heard of it, so I looked it up, and I actually did find studies supporting that description, including one NHS study that found that using ionization in a hospital caused a particular bacterial infection rate to drop to 0. So now I'm here with an important update. I might have been wrong. Well, I was technically right, which is the best kind of right, but I might have left people with wrong ideas, which is just as bad as being wrong myself. I recently learned that the science behind whether or not ionization really works to purify air isn't totally settled, and it might not work very well at all, and in fact, it might be bad for you. I learned all this thanks to a company that sells ionizers to control the spread of COVID. They are desperately suing the ever-loving shit out of people who study air purification, in a way that makes it seem like they're trying to shut those people up. That's right. It's our old friend, the Streisand effect, in which an attempt to silence someone ends up only amplifying them several thousand times over. Let's talk about it. With the onset of COVID-19, schools became epicenters of disease spread, and so they were shut down. That was obviously really bad for kids' development and learning. So understandably, a lot of people were looking for the fastest way to get back to in-person classes. In March of 2021, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan, which offered schools $122 billion in aid in order to reopen schools as quickly as possible. While that money was obviously necessary for public schools to be able to get going again, it also chummed the waters for companies in the ventilation sphere to rush in to get a piece of the pie. Wait, that was a mixed metaphor. I should say rush in to get a piece of the bloody lumps of meat, or I don't know, whatever is in chum. Anyway, because the American Rescue Plan didn't stipulate that the schools spend that money on scientifically proven technology, that those sharks that were in the water included companies that make shady systems like ozone producers. In that previous video, I mentioned that ozone probably doesn't help and is definitely pretty bad for humans, as it can damage children's lungs and exacerbate asthma. So not a great choice for your air purification system. Some of the other companies vying for that money were those that sold ionizers, some of whom were promising schools a 99.92% reduction in the presence of COVID-19. Many school districts, more than 2,000 across 44 states, according to one survey, bought and installed ionizing systems, leading to a group of scientists and engineers who specialize in filtration systems to publish an open letter pointing out that the ionizers just haven't been proven to work. The science isn't there. And that shocked me because way back when I first researched my air purifier, I was skeptical, but I saw convincing evidence that the ionizer part of my filtration system was effective. I specifically referenced that NHS study that had good results in a hospital setting. So when I was learning about all of this recent stuff, I went back and I double-checked that NHS study and realized that it wasn't about the ionizer effectively removing particulates and viruses from the air. It was about how ionizers might drastically change how those particulates become attracted to or repelled from objects like ventilators, which may then drastically change how disease spreads through a hospital. When it comes to just clearing the air, though, it seems, according to the science, that my purifier is relying almost entirely on its HEPA filter, which scientists already know is an extremely effective tool. In their open letter, the experts write that the peer-reviewed research looking at the effectiveness of ionizers is limited, showing levels of effectiveness below that reported by manufacturers for the elimination of pathogens, volatile organic compounds, VOCs, including aldehydes and particulate matter. They go on to say that the lab testing performed by manufacturers directly or through contract often is not reflective of real-world settings like actual classrooms. Manufacturers and distributors commonly apply these lab results in a blanket manner to a variety of building conditions, overestimating the technology's effectiveness in a variety of real-world situations. And yeah, the Kaiser Family Foundation reported in May of 2021, last summer, Global Plasma Solutions wanted to test whether the company's air purifying devices could kill COVID-19 virus particles, but could find only a lab using a chamber the size of a shoebox for its trials. In the company-funded study, the virus was blasted with 27,000 ions per cubic centimeter. In September, the company's founder incidentally mentioned that the devices being offered for sale actually deliver a lot less ion power, 13 times less, into a full-size room. The company nonetheless used the shoebox results, over 99% viral reduction, in marketing its device heavily to schools as something that could combat COVID in classrooms far, far larger than a shoebox. In addition to the lack of evidence for effectiveness, the experts also write in the open letter that some ionizers might actually be bad for air quality, producing ozone, VOCs, including aldehydes, and ultrafine particles. They point out that whether or not this happens may depend on what else is already in the environment, because ionization can turn harmless chemicals into harmful compounds, like oxygen into ozone or alcohol into an aldehyde. Whoops. So I don't know. It does seem, in my amateur opinion, that there's not a lot of scientific evidence to justify school districts spending millions of dollars to install ionizers when there are these technologies we have mountains of evidence in favor of, like HEPA filters and UV light and wearing masks and opening the windows. Maybe ionizers can be good tools to cleanse the air in certain circumstances, but at this point, it sounds to me like the science isn't necessarily there, and they might even do as much or more harm than good. One of the two authors of the open letter, which was also signed by 12 other experts in the field, is Dr. Marwa Zaatari, a mechanical engineer and member of the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers Epidemic Task Force. According to Dr. Zaatari, her criticism of ionization led those companies to begin harassing her and her colleagues. She states that in March of 2021, a company called Global Plasma Solutions actually offered her a job with a slightly menacing note from the CEO that he would be disappointed if she refused, which she says she did by ignoring the email. The following month, they filed a lawsuit against her, alleging that she defamed them in pursuit of money as she is a competitor of theirs. They're asking for $180 million. She's retained counsel who advised her about the high cost of fighting this battle. So as she's on her, as she says, last financial leg, she decided finally to launch a GoFundMe, which is linked in the transcript as always, which you can find below. As I've talked about many times on here, these kinds of libel, defamation lawsuits can cost an incredible amount of money, even if you are obviously in the right. Even if you win, it can be really, really difficult. And a lot of companies can win just by outspending their opponent. Another air quality specialist named Bud Offerman wrote an article in November of 2020 criticizing ion generators and other technologies as snake oil. Offerman examined Global Plasma Solutions' own test data and was apparently completely unimpressed, concluding that, and I quote, "Most of these devices do not have test data showing they provide any significant removal of indoor air contaminants, and some may produce harmful chemicals, such as formaldehyde and ozone." Global Plasma Solutions also filed a lawsuit against him in March of 2021. Finally, and perhaps most bafflingly, in January of this year, Global Plasma Solutions filed a libel lawsuit against Elsevier, one of the largest science publishers in the world, demanding a retraction of this study, which found that their ionizer technology had, quote, negligibly impacted particle concentrations and loss rates, and that some VOCs decreased and others increased, often within propagated uncertainty. I do find this all a bit fascinating because I've been very interested in the efficacy of various technologies to combat COVID-19 over the past 2 years. And of course, I'm always interested in potentially misleading or outrageous claims. I'm interested in quackery. And I've previously researched the efficacy of ionizers, and I own an ionizer, and I am very online. But still, this entire story completely missed me. I did not see Zatari's open letter. I did not notice critical pieces written about this in outlets like CBS and Mother Jones and PBS. But now I know all about it. And that's thanks to this one company trying to shut up one engineer. So thanks for that, because now I know that I'm just going to go turn off the ionizer on my air purifier just in case.